Good job, Jolene.
So
Go,
we're going to talk
Trevor.
about the 6 hats process. And friends, this is a really good tool. If you want to take an idea and evaluate it well, if you run it well, it just works fantastic. One of our CREST students a few years ago took this, and she was a women's ministries director. And she wanted to change women's ministries in this large church. Well, that's going to be something to change significantly women's ministries. So she decided to use this process. So she took some coaching from me to make sure that she did it exactly right, got permission from the lead pastor. This was a large church, so they had it in the gym, and there were over 100 women that showed up. And she followed this process exactly to the T. And it worked fabulously. They made significant change, got big buy-in, and had almost no conflict over it. The lead pastor was so impressed. He said, "Could you lead us in that same process as we consider the building program?" So they did it again. And it's a very good process that helps a lot of people. It can be as small as just a few, or like I just said, over 100 people, 200 people. There's a limitless number that can do this if you follow exactly the steps that are here. So we want to introduce this to you in a good way. And one of the best ways is to actually run a 6 hats process. So that's the plan. And John's going to take it on from here.
So just remember about the colors, the meaning of each color as we go through it. So the yellow is the positive, black is the cautions, white is what more information would help us, and blue is how do we manage this? What's the budget, all that sort of stuff that's needed. And green is the creativity, where could we go from here, the potential. And then red is the gut feelings. Okay, how do you really feel about this? And that has to be honest. And so you set that tone from the beginning. So that is on, is it page 48 of your curriculum there? So you can see it there. So that's how we'll be following along. So we have a brilliant entrepreneur who has many ideas, but he is focusing on one with his wife, who's just as creative and just as brilliant. So we're not sure which one we'll actually hear from, but it doesn't matter because both of them can speak very well. So we're going to hear from them their idea. They're going to take 10 minutes to do that. Dan is going to time that and then just give us a minute, around 10 minutes just to wrap that up, wrap the idea up. Okay. And then we'll begin to work through the hats and just give input into that. Okay. Sound good? All right. So Henrik, good to see you.
Yeah, I don't know. I had to do some technical difficulties here, so
You got
it. So,
I'm not sure the technical part is the problem, but anyway. We love you, Henrik. Glad that you're here to be part of this. All right. Emma, Stephen, both of you, whoever, tell us about your idea.
Yeah, so obviously through COVID, we faced a number of challenges with our restaurant. So about 6 months ago, we had this idea of moving away from a brick and mortar location and going into smaller venues. collaborative venues, and just trying to watch the overhead costs and the I guess the technical term is the burn rate each month. It's a large process. What we look at doing is going into a market and going into a food truck. And from there, what we believe is that having two people at both locations will afford us to do decent sales with different marketing techniques. But the nice thing about it is in the market is we have a number of different vendors attracting people to that area. With the food truck, we get to go where the people are. So currently right now with restaurants being closed down on and off is people can't come to us and take out things like that. And the overhead for a restaurant is quite high, just for the rent and the utilities and everything else. So the concept and what the idea that we're really excited about is being able to continue providing food. So the vision of our company is to build relationships, grow community, and we believe the best way to do that is by breaking bread together. So without making excuses why we can't do that, we had to think very outside the box of the four walls of a restaurant and figure out how to do it. And that is primarily the seed idea. And then as we go through the colors, we'll let the group chat, and then I can let you know a little bit of how we overcame or what we faced in that process. But just for participation, we can just break it down and people can share their ideas. And then that stuff that we faced is it, oh shoot, Emma, we need to talk about that. And how we got to the next stage.
Okay. Are there any clarifying questions just off the top about the idea, just so you understand it better so that you can give proper feedback?
So are we focused on one or on both? The food truck and the market locations? Is that what we're talking about now?
Yeah, so the idea is multiple locations, smaller in footprint, smaller cost, bigger growth.
All right.
To sum it up in a nice little nutshell.
Yeah, good.
Is it two trucks or is it one truck?
One truck, one market.
And have you, do we know yet, or do you know yet where the food truck will be going? Like, do you have an idea? Is it kind of located at one place, or is it moving around?
So we actually today just solidified a location to park it semi-permanently.
Okay.
So what that means is the food truck will be placed in a neighborhood called Bridgeland in Calgary, majority of the time, and then we will move the food truck if we get hired for or go into a market, night market, or a church wants to hire us out or anything like that.
Great. Any other clarifying questions? Just
Yeah, and where's the market?
The market is Granary Road Market. So it's in the southwest outside of Calgary. It's about a 40-minute drive from our kitchen.
And is that market open every day or only certain times?
So for food operations, we'd be open 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the food truck will be a 7-day operation.
good. This helps to form opinions.
Do you have to hire anybody? Do you have to let anybody go?
So this pivot actually allows us to keep our team. And that was one of the reasons we looked at 2 locations is that we wouldn't have to lay anybody off. So our 2 key guys will split their focus not focus. They'll split their time. And then we have 2 part-time people that will support them. And I would do most of the prep cooking, get the food ready to go. So we don't have to hire. So cost-wise, we're not increasing our cost in labor, but we don't have to lay anybody off.
Good. All right. We should have enough there to make some statements. We need someone to be writing down ideas. So what we would typically do is divide into groups. If there's 12 of us, 20 of us, as Dan said, 100 of us, then we would divide into groups of like 4 or 5, and each group would go through the hat process at the same time. Since we're a small group, we'll just go through it together. Okay. So Dan's gonna, we're gonna do, you can do 3 or 4 minutes. We're gonna do 3 minutes each, and each hat. And so Dan will time that. Is there someone that can be just writing down ideas as they're spoken?
I can do that.
Thanks, Emma. Okay, you ready? All right, let's start. Your response to the idea, the positive things that you see about this. And remember, we have 3 minutes, and the idea is that in those 3 minutes, everyone in the group gets to speak to it, except the guy who presented the idea. He's already spoken to it, so the others get to speak. So I'm going to facilitate that. And if we're getting close to the 3 minutes and someone hasn't spoken, then I will ask someone to stop talking and someone else to start talking. Okay. All right. What's your feeling? Your positive response. And it helps to pick on someone to start, because that always takes a few seconds. So I'm going to pick on Jolene. Your positive response, if any.
So I'm excited about the fact that there is going to be a full team. You don't have to hire, you don't have to fire. I love the idea that you're pivoting now right away. So it's COVID, you've got this problem. You're already stepping up into the next, you're trying to go it. You've already wanted to get into the market already beforehand. This is just kind of confirming. So I love the fact that, yeah, this is where you're heading. I love it that you want to go where, not only do you want to just be in one location so people come to you, but you also want to go where people are. So I love that idea.
All right.
I like the
go ahead.
portability of your food truck, that you can go anywhere you need to for special occasions. That's really positive.
Yeah, I like the, same what you guys were saying, and the market, no overhead, right? That's a big thing. So, so we got to stay positive. So that's, I think those are really positive things, those two.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how much I can ask. So that's.
Nope, these are just, giving input on the positive parts at the beginning. So, I love the idea that you're willing to make what seems like quite a drastic change. So the entrepreneurship of both of you, is coming out, and I think that's just always a positive thing, because that's what started this, right? You had an idea and you went for it, and that's the kind of people you are. So now you're continuing that, thinking out of the box, and that's great.
And the markets are a real positive place for people come willing to spend money on ideas and tasting different kinds of things. They'll spend money at a market that they wouldn't spend at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because of the COVID, I think that's a really good idea because of the COVID. I don't know why you didn't do it last year. Right? I mean, right? But
just quickly, that was that was one of the big slaps in the face God gave me.
Yeah. But that's just how it goes. I mean, that's just how it works. But
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say, I'm complimenting you on doing this.
Yeah.
And it's
3
because of
minutes are up.
COVID, I think it's a good market strategy. Yeah. Because the
Alright.
people, they can't go nowhere.
Thank you.
Okay. And Emma, you're invited to comment too, even though it's part of your idea. But
Okay, thanks.
all right, Black Hat. The cautions, potential pitfalls, the weaknesses that you see. It's not really the information yet that you need. It's the black that you see right away that this may be a concern. Okay, go.
Well, the weather, I guess.
In as far as the food truck goes,
Well, both.
both. Yeah.
But market and overall is good. But the weather, I would say, the wind and the rain. But
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is proper to ask, but I don't know what kind of food you're going with neither. But I don't know if that matters at this point.
Right.
Smoked meat.
And depending upon the kind of truck you bought, there may be truck repair expenses coming up. So I don't know. That's the caution I would be, because boy, those can be expensive.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and just the market situation too. And Granary Road is kind of out there. It's sort of hip right now. So there's people going. How will people continue to go out there to that market? That's something to think about.
And yeah, okay. How about permits? That's all good or whatever. I don't know if that's an issue or what the payment is. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Can be. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And as Dan said, just to highlight that, a caution for me is that anytime you're dealing with a vehicle and you're counting on it, the expense of that off the top, but then to maintain it and stuff would be a caution.
Mhm.
Jolene, any blackness that you're seeing?
Not really, not seeing anything. I mean, I think again, the costs, the overhead costs in the truck. And then what are you gonna do if it does break down last minute or something, things like that? But no, nothing that's jumping out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so need to have a backup plan for the truck, that if it won't go one day and you have an event, you do have plan B.
Yeah. And I was just wondering about, do you have to have a certain license for this truck or is it?
Oh,
Yeah.
luckily for the truck, it's a regular class 5 license. But yeah, one of the biggest ones we had was, if we're out for a week with the food truck in repairs, what are we doing?
Mhm.
Right. And so it's a very real, Dan and John, very real concern.
Mm.
That's one of the reasons we chose to try to stay stuck as long as we could until we get hired out. And so stay in one spot so that we're not traveling as much and have those concerns. And that's where that decision actually started coming from, was when that came up in our discussion.
Right.
3 minutes are up.
I suppose security too would be a caution with that. All right. The white hat is the missing facts. So Henrik, you kind of already ventured into the white hat with asking about license and permits and all that. That's the kind of thing. What research does Steve and Emma need to do in order to pull this thing off? Things that are missing. Okay, go.
Well, I guess, and I'm assuming you looked at that too, but are you going to be close to other restaurants? I guess, are you going to throw potatoes at you? I don't know.
Mhm.
Right.
And the little I know about restaurants is, yeah, about that and how many more restaurants. But it's COVID, so that's the thing, right? So,
Yeah. So along with that, Henry, I was thinking of competition. Have you scoped that out? Like, the market, is there already a smoke place there? Is there, are there, you check out who's already there and what they're offering, but then also with the truck, what's around the neighborhood and kind of that environmental scan type thing.
Yeah, with maybe a bunch of restaurants closing, there might be a bunch of people thinking truck.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be
Right.
a research factor.
Yeah.
And is there a way to research that? Like if there's, does the city keep a log of permits for food trucks, for example? Would that be to be able to find out what's available right now with competition?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Dan.
I'm wondering, are you going to be changing your name in order to appeal to the other people? Because right now I think you're an upscale kind of a restaurant, so you're appealing like more to that environment. How are you going to adjust to the food market, food truck market?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Okay, so the little I know about, not that I know nothing about trucks, but the hidden thing maybe is how to drive this thing, because a lot of guys think everything is easy to get to the place, and if you do get in an accident, then what? Or do they drive over some potholes, and where is everything going?
Yeah.
Yeah. Area that you're putting the truck into is Bridgeland, and I worked in Bridgeland for a number of years. And at the beginning, when I worked there, it was the average age was probably 70, 80. But then Bridgeland went through a huge transformation, and so it's now kind of no vehicle, kind of a yuppie sort of situation. And so, is that good or not good for you? Have you checked that out as to what your clientele in the Bridgeland area is looking like?
Mhm.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay, so we're going on to blue, the blue hat, which is, what are the implementation issues? Is there system? What kind of structure are you looking at? Both structure as in internal structure, outside structure, physical structures, and then budgets and to do with control, planning, all that sort of stuff. Those types of questions or comments.
Okay,
So
well, I don't know if this fits. Oh, go ahead then.
the market is weekends basically. So you don't have 7-day-a-week exposure there, and yet you've got ongoing equipment that's there. So I guess a matter of planning, maybe did some planning around the number of people that come through that market.
Mhm.
And does that substitute for it being open 7 days?
I was thinking of you said you're retaining your team, which is awesome, and that's part of the reason for this. But does it mean budget cuts? Does it mean maybe less pay for these guys, or does it mean more pay for them? What will their workload be like compared to what it was before, and has adjustments been made for that?
Mhm.
And the costs of getting your workers to the market and back, that's 40 minutes away. Is there going to be a travel cost involved there? Will be an implementation question.
Mhm.
I don't know if this question fits into that, but are you going to be putting some tables, some chairs out there with a little fan or whatever? I don't know if that's been more money, maybe. I don't know.
Yep. Oh, that's good. This is exactly where that question belongs, because in the structure of it? What is it going to look like?
Maybe, well, again, I don't know if this fits in, but what works really well here with a bunch of farmers, you get the barbecue going and smoking, and that's people like that. I don't know.
Yeah, will you have a fan in the truck to blow the smell out around the neighborhood?
I was more thinking about the market actually, over there maybe a little bit, but I don't know if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
don't know. But, yeah.
The other thing is there any training costs? So will any of your employees have to go through any training of any sort to adjust to this?
Good. Do you have to do any repairs, or not repairs, adjustments to the truck? Not sure what shape the truck is in. If it's ready to go, great, but then you want your own stamp on it, your own name. How will it look? Well, you need to paint it so that it looks more like you. Those types of things factor in. I know you've already been at the marketplace because I've seen you there and stuff. So will there be some branding of that will be the same, and so then that will incur costs, branding of the market and the truck.
But maybe also your food, if you got a certain sauce, I don't know if maybe you guys are doing that, you sell your sauce on
Right.
the side, you can make it at home in those 3 days you're home, and then you go,
Well,
I don't know, or meat, or I don't know what.
Henrik is already green.
Yeah.
I already jumped to green here.
We're expanding. Yeah.
So 3 minutes for the blue is up, so we're ready for green. Henrik already jumped the gun, but that's okay. He's got creative ideas there.
You're throwing me off here.
Got your list.
Love that idea, Henrik.
It is a good idea. In Edmonton, there's a restaurant that sells a particular kind of sesame seed sauce, and we will drive time to get there to buy that sauce. You could come up with a secret sauce
Yeah.
that would be just yours, secret recipe.
Yeah. And sell it on the truck and in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. Well, I don't know if this is part of the green, but is that what green is about?
Yeah,
It's,
it's augmentation, new ideas.
The
Well,
potential.
you're talking all
possibilities.
health stuff right now, right? So yeah, something with health. I don't know, something healthy, whatever, or maybe not. Whatever sells, of course. So that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and then, once you do establish the food truck idea, you may decide that one should stay where it is because things have gone well. And then you may want to purchase another one that does more of the traveling to the Stampede. I can see you guys at the Stampede or all these festivals. Calgary has tons of festivals going around. And so, depending on the access for a truck, but you could hit all those and have a traveling team that just runs around and does all that stuff.
Yeah, my daughter had a food thing at the Shakespeare in the Park on
Right.
Princess Island. Oh, that was a busy place.
Yeah.
And it was just evenings during Shakespeare, but she made a very little coin there.
Yeah.
And there was this ice cream truck parked there permanently. That did lots of business. Oh my.
It's still there.
So-
We go there all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and even outside of Calgary, right? If the truck is in good shape and stuff, there's festivals happening Edmonton, all over the place, all the time. Rodeos, rodeo season. There's rodeos everywhere, and smoke and barbecue.
Yeah. Most of them are like hot dog stands, but yours is like quality, like what, smoked meat? Whoa, that sounds way better than a hot dog.
Yeah.
And I'd pay more for that.
yeah, because you got money.
I got a hungry tummy is what it is.
I'll just throw in here that other green that we came up with was franchising the truck.
Right. Cool.
Mhm.
Jolene, any of your creativity flowing? Just-
Well, I was thinking if if you were to put a sauce, a secret sauce that you could have made, certainly, of course, it could be made beforehand to be used, but also that you could sell it across Canada. So people who hopefully be able to return back to Alberta, then, you know, they enjoy it and it's something you could ship, you know, across Canada or wherever else too.
Right. Cool. All right, we're to the red, which is just your overall kind of gut feeling. I'm not sure, you know, I guess red is emotional, red's bright and bold, but so that's the color there, but it's passion, it's how you're feeling about this. Yeah. So with this one, let's just go around the circle and just say, you know, what's your gut feeling about this? So we'll start with Dan.
So I commend you for recognizing that this COVID restriction of shutting you down at a whim could happen again. They're saying COVID is not going to be gone permanently. It's going to come back in little waves. So to be able to be flexible like this, that you can just drive around and you be outside, means that you're not likely to be shut down like a brick and mortar place.
Mm.
So as far as continuing your skill set and your specialty of making the meat, this is a really good option for you.
Jolene?
Yeah, I don't really have much to say except the same thing. I do think that the COVID is going to be around. So keeping that in mind and just seeing that you're willing to change. I love that. I love the fact that you're willing to say, nope, this is not working. I'm going to try something different a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Henrik?
Yeah, well, I don't really understand this, but so hopefully COVID is going to stay around for a long time, right? That's why we're doing this. Correct?
No.
Okay, but I mean, but that's the way. Then you don't have to be in competition with your restaurants. So in one way, this is maybe not why you're doing it, but it is the reason why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can only say hopefully the COVID is going to stick around in some ways, you know, or to that side effect.
Mm.
What's your gut feeling about their idea, Henrik?
Well, okay, so my gut feeling is, because I think COVID is going to stick around for a while, I think it's a good idea. But I just don't know the people that you're working with. So that would be my biggest obstacle, because that's what I know. So if you're saying, if you have the same people that I have and they will do anything for you, then I think it should work. But if you have to push them all the time, because don't forget that the people that you're dealing with, they have to deal now with customers, and maybe they have done it before or not, but maybe it's a whole different ball game for them, because if they're always in the kitchen, now they're going to be talking to their customers all the time. Yeah. And you can have some really angry customers, and you can have some really happy customers, but the guy that's doing the truck, that's sitting in the truck and he's by himself, he has to sell it. Yeah. Now my guys, they want to work, you know, they do a good job, but they cannot sell. That's where I come in. You know, you have to sell your product, and it comes down to, okay, so you gotta sell snow to an Eskimo, right? And you know what that is like. Mm-hmm. So if your guys can do that, then I think you gotta go. But if you guys cannot do that, or they cannot do that, that means that you have to be there all times. Yeah. Mm. And then it comes down to, do you have the time, and do you want to do that? And if you say yes, then I can think it would be a great idea. But there's a lot of balls in the air that you can answer, not me. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Good input there, Henrik. myself, I mean, I love entrepreneurship. So any idea that thinks out of the box and does things differently, I say go for it. Um, the cost of taking a risk, I would weigh that, and if you can see yourself being ready to absorb, if this thing doesn't work, then I'd say, for sure, this is a brilliant idea. As far as, feeling goes, I'm sad to see or to think that your restaurant won't be there. Because the way you guys decorated it and the atmosphere and the people working there, it was a great thing. So if it's an either or thing, that makes me sad. I'm sad it's come to that in these days. But if it means, continuing something, then this may be a blessing in disguise for you guys. Like it may be the way to go for you, and I'm hopeful that it is. So what we would, typically what would happen is the groups come back, and then we have that kind of conversation as each group just gives their response. So I'd say, okay, each group, what did you write down for your yellow hat? And so each group would then say their yellows, and then their blacks, and then their whites, and they would give that. And so there's a lot of verbal processing going on, and the people with the idea is writing this stuff down, at least writing what they want to write down, because after that, then the person who took notes in the group will then give all their notes to the person with the idea. So you not only get all the verbal processing going on, but you get the written processing going on, and so that gives you a lot of input into this idea. And it's it's less than an hour. It's 45 minutes to get that. So yeah, and then then that basically wraps that up. The person with the idea is able to kind of summarize or just sort of share how they're feeling about everything and what they've heard, and then that would be all. So before Emma and Steve, before you kind of respond to what you have heard, Dan, is there anything I've forgotten or didn't highlight enough? Or
Well, one more step that's helpful at the end of a process like this with Stephen is that each person would take a piece of paper and say, start it with, Stephen, if I was you, I would, and then you just let everybody write a paragraph to you. And then sometimes people will say, Stephen, I'm available. Give me a call if you want, or I got something to help here. And if you have the right people in the room, you might find that someone says, I got a good lead on a truck, or, I know where there's a festival that needs a place like this. And you end up having these people help you. That's a pretty cool piece at the end.
Yep. Good. So Steve and Emma, what did you hear and what's been helpful to you?
Any thoughts, Emma?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool exercise. It just really breaks down everything. It allows opportunity to get all those thoughts out in an organized way. Yeah, I think there's some really interesting things. To be honest, I support Steve. We talk a little bit about this, but I am not in all the nitty gritty details, the day-to-day details. So it's neat because this actually gives me conversation topics to go through with Steve. You know, a lot of the stuff we have talked about, which is really great to see, like, that we're talking about it right and well, bringing up a lot of the benefits and a lot of the cautions. You know, you guys have some really great ideas. And just like, for me, I'm a very detail oriented person. So even just the white hat, you know, the missing facts, the information, just making sure that we have all the information that we done, licenses, on permits, you know, doing research on the areas that we might be going into or that we are going into. And especially around the truck, just, you know, it's mobile. So what do we do when we can't make it mobile? Yeah, I think there's a lot of great points that have come up, and yeah, I'm excited actually to hear what Steve says.
Good.
That was awesome. A lot of what came up in this discussion is actually what we went through. So super interesting. And I was telling John that Chris actually in the back of my mind has been playing through the last 6 months, making these decisions and making these pivots and deciding what the next steps were and bringing the team along for the ride. And they all get bite-sized pieces. And, you know, I didn't get a chance to read Switch just with trying to navigate this stuff. And John's like, well, I think you're going to have a really cool time reading it now because you've actually started already implementing some of those pieces. And so it's encouraging for us to know that we're on the right trajectory. And I am not foolish enough or naive enough to think that we're not going to have some roadblocks and some detours along the way. A lot of the blacks are real roadblocks and detours that we're trying to mitigate as best as we can. I mean, you get broken down on the side of Deerfoot, you get broken down on the side of Deerfoot, you call a tow truck, and you made enough last week to pay for it. But I'll take you a little bit through the process of what we did in this same method. Is the first thing we did is we took it in and took that big idea and we narrowed it down to bite-sized pieces, because this concept is massive. To think about franchising food trucks, I mean, it's just overwhelming. Hey, can we get one food truck? Can we operate that? So between Adam, Andy, and myself, we divided and conquered. Adam is more culinary, Andy's more operational, and I'm both. So I was able to help direct them, guide them, mentor them, and they want to buy into our company at some point. So it was a really good exercise for them. So Andy researched all the permits. One of the reasons we chose to go to Bridgeland and sign a lease for vacant space there is because we don't need permits. We just need our food handling. As long as we're on private property and we're invited on and we get a letter, we don't need to have permits. So that saves us $60 a day.
Wow.
And we're going to go.
Wow.
So when that question came up and they presented to me what the cost of permits were, I'm like, whoa, we got to do an extra $1,000 at, you know, $500 a day just to cover the cost of getting the permit, applying for it, blah, 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 right? All the hours that it takes. So that was a very good thought process. And then we had to find the truck, and there were a number of trucks that we saw, and they were in rough shape, to the point where God and I had a very serious conversation about the truck we were looking at. I said, I don't want to go to Camrose, and I don't want that truck, but it was the only truck around our budget. And it's very easy to settle when you have these big dreams and these big thoughts. And so Monday, I reach out to a food truck I just happened to be on, reach out to them, just listed the truck got $9,000 off the truck. Best looking truck we've seen. And we purchased it yesterday after the 4:30 Crest. We went and looked at it, purchased it. We're picking it up tomorrow after Crest.
Wow. Cool.
Fully maintenance, fully inspected, no issues, all the equipment we need, more equipment than what we need. So we actually get to sell some of it. So it's going to fall within our budget, which is beautiful. So that maintenance piece and the quality of truck definitely played a piece. With the market, the nice thing is we've been down in the market. We know the market. It's not foreign to us. So knowing that we need between 50 and 100 people, depending on what season we're in, the low season or the peak season, we need 50 to 100 people a month to come through and buy from us at an average of $18. So we did what we call a pro forma profit and loss statement, which is basically just revenues minus expenses and what do you have left over. So average of $18, which, you know, at a food truck or a booth, pretty average, unfortunately. Yep. But so we did that feasibility study, and if we don't do 100 people a month at the market, there are much bigger issues.
Yeah.
With the food truck, we're 50 to 75 every time we stop. So again, we saw that price point was very achievable. When we went into the green, the growth opportunities, we've actually bought bottles already so that we can package our barbecue sauce. We started piloting our brisket in a box program, so ready-made brisket. The super interesting thing is the prep kitchen that we're going into has a relationship with Sobe Safeway IGA. So in October, when we shut down the food truck, if we don't winterize it, that's going to be the project, is how do we get on the retail? How do we get onto the shelves in the grocery stores? So super interesting that you guys had that same thought process, and just a little bit of confirmation for us that we're not thinking too big. We can freeze our brisket properly very easily, and it sustains the quality. So, and then, so yeah, I think a lot of what you guys have talked about are things that we did with our feasibility study. Bridgeland location. I mean, we just want people that want good food, and Bridgeland is a little bit of a hipster area. So I think that being across the street from Cannabelle, which is a barber shop, Blue Star Diner, OEB,
Right.
And they all close at 3, and we're going to be there till 7.
Cool.
Right. So people that go there for breakfast brunch are going to come over and see us for dinner.
Yeah.
And then the super interesting thing that didn't come up is we're actually doing skip the dishes. So because we know when we're going to be in Bridgeland and when our truck's going to be moving, we can actually set our hours with skip the dishes and still provide skip the dish opportunities, which is revenues that we haven't anticipated in our projection.
Wow, that's brilliant. Yeah, sounds really good.
If any of y'all want to invest, let me know.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing of it pulling together. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it really has been not leaning on our own understanding, because this is not the thought process I had when I first started in this industry. And just being open to it, having good people in our corner, it's been really encouraging.
Great. So any comments or questions about that process, how it works, and because this actually will be one of the assignments, pulling together, whether it's 2 or 3 people or a bunch of people, but just tossing out an idea and having people give feedback in this way, in this process. So want you to experience it. And then once you experience it, then you can decide if this is a tool you're going to put in your toolbox when your days of Crest are done. And we don't anticipate that everything will become part of your toolbox, but we know that some will. And so want you to at least experience them so you can make that decision wisely. So tomorrow is last day already, and or the morning anyway. And so what we're going to do tomorrow is just hear your synthesis of the things that you're taking away that stood out to you, like we do at the end of each encounter. So we're going to do that tomorrow. We'll give you a certain amount of time, probably 5 minutes, 7 minutes to go through your synthesis and to comment on each of the modules, which is basically the video series, each lesson, to comment on what you're taking away from each of those. And then we'll talk about the assignments and make sure that's all clear. And then we'll talk a bit about graduation too. And hopefully that will be in person. And but we need to talk about what if it isn't and how we'll do that. So okay, any questions or comments at this point? All right, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 and have your synthesis ready, and we'll hear from you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Just a comment for me is that tomorrow morning I am hosting the Crest Alumni Cafe Call. So we have a special thing just for alumni. And it's a monthly cafe call that Dr. Terry Young and I host. And it's a 60-minute online conversation about some pertinent subject. And it's really proving to be quite popular with our alumni. So only alumni can be in on that. So when you're done with the graduation 6, you can get in on these calls and join in with over 200 other alumni that can be on these calls. So just want to say that I won't be able to be then on the Zoom call with you tomorrow morning, but Anne will be. And I'll be glad to hear and see the recording of what you got out of all of the encounter here. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow morning. And then also just to continue the heads up for you that we are offering the Master in Christian Leadership for any of you that would like to go on and get that credential. And that will be in 2022. It will start it in the spring of 2022. And what we do there primarily is that we give you additional leadership theory. So you have even more tools in your belt. And then we invite you to write up a project where you take all that you've learned and you write it up into a master's thesis. Really, but it's a project. It's something that you want to do or something that needs a lot of thinking and research. And it's a way to take all that you've learned and then apply it to something that really matters. So it's something practical, something you're going to use. It could be a dream that you want to really put into practice. It could be, something like changing your business we just talked about now. But really drilling down and getting all that white information there and getting all the implementation and writing it all up and all the research and just it gives you a structure and an encouragement to really drill down into something that you want to make happen. So people really find that the paper writing very helpful because it's something they're going to use. It's not just a theory paper, practical paper.
Yeah, my paper when I first took Crest was basically how to start a house church network. And so that's where my life kind of changed from there. And this project became real life for me. So hopefully yours will have that kind of impact too.
Well, and similarly, when I did my doctoral work, the dissertation, which is like a really big paper, my dissertation was how to do this training in CREST. And I literally have implemented my project for the last 20 years. I've been doing CREST based upon that project. So we want you to do something that can really just be like your blueprint for the next chapter of your life.
Cool, because you all are brilliant people and you can do it. So we will see you tomorrow morning. Have a great rest, and yeah, and we'll see you in the morning to finish up.
Good.
Good.
Okay,
Okay.
see you.
you all.
Oh,